you doing? This is Will from Will Development, and this is part 6. Yeah, 6 of the series that talks about why your stones are off. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about concrete in different environments. Now, I happen to live in a great environment or climate for stone making. Florida, tropical climate, 90% of the year. Actually, I'm sure if I did the math, it's more like 75% of the year. But that's not what's important. What's important is I live in a very humid environment, and it's pretty much humid and hot year-round. This is a great environment for concrete because, as we talked about last time, concrete needs to stay just a little bit damp in order to cure properly. And the wetter you can keep it, maybe I should say the moister you can keep it, the better quality concrete you're going to get and the better curing it's going to be. Mixing concrete in humid environments is pretty easy. It's about as easy as mixing concrete ever gets, I should say. Because it's so humid here year-round, basically, I really don't have to even cover my stone molds if I don't want to, because the moisture from the air is enough for the concrete to soak it in and sort of keep itself curing as long as possible. But maybe you live in a drier environment. Maybe you live in a colder environment. These places are where you need to start really considering, is it a good time to be pouring concrete? I had a conversation with somebody one time and I said, curing and pouring concrete up north is a pain in the ass. They said, yeah, I imagine it takes a really long time to cure. I said, shit, no, that's the easy part. You can just add some calcium to your concrete to work it in colder environments. But let's say you live somewhere where it actually gets below freezing every once in a while. Florida never does. You're gonna have problems, because what happens to water when it freezes? It pushes things away. So if you have water inside your stone, which you pretty much always will, then when that water freezes, it's gonna crack your stone open, man. That's not good. And if you ever lived up north, you'll know one thing. When the summer months hit, everybody's laying concrete. Probably a good 6 months of non-stop concrete laying. Because in the colder months, it's just not worth it because the risk of it cracking is way too high, or the workability is just too much of a pain in the ass, honestly. Now, I know I just said that pouring concrete in a warmer and more humid environment is better in a sense. It still represents its own challenges. You need to sort of factor in the humidity just a little bit if you're doing these outside, as the humidity can actually soak into the stone, which is sometimes a good thing. But if your stone is already perfect, let's see, the perfect amount of to water ratio, and it absorbs some more of that humidity, it's going to cause it to not be a good mix anymore. And that can be a problem. So if you'll remember back in one of the earlier episodes where I talked about just taking a paper towel and touching it against the concrete before you pour it, and it should stain it but not soak it, this is still a great metric to use for humid environments. That's the same metric I stand by. So how do we fix it though? What if we've already poured our concrete, one bag, and that bag was too dry? Do we just pour water inside the mold and hope for the best? No. If you poured it and it's too dry, your first bag was too dry, I recommend just making your second mix a little bit wetter. What's the metric for that? Take your paper towel, touch it, it should absorb a little bit past what you touched, almost soaking in. What's going to happen is the water's going to slowly seep in and it's going to absorb in. And as long as you're doing good practices and knocking it down and settling it properly, the concrete from the bottom will soak up. Now let's say you have the other problem and your first bag was too wet. Do you just pour in concrete dry to make it soak in? No, this is not good because this is not mixed. See, because even if it's too dry or too wet, at least it was mixed. If you just put it in there, it's not going to mix properly because it wasn't mixed. So I recommend just mixing a slightly drier bag and putting that in next. And you'll find that once you tap it, you'll still get some of the water to seep up. So once again, I'm Will from Will Development. Appreciate you watching and look forward to the final episode where I'm going to talk about why your math is shit. If you don't stay tuned, then what's your excuse?